Good evening, friends. This is your host to welcome you through the creaking door into the inner sanctum. Come in, come in. Well, I had my musical bonnet on last night. Went looking for the lost chord, and I found it. Some joker was wearing it as a necklace. I had to cut him loose from a ceiling beam to get the chord. Oh, fun. Later on, we sang sentimental songs. Everyone was so touched in the head. One gay blade got so hysterical he fell on himself, ran himself through. There he lay, dead, but no blood. The zombie. The party broke up when everybody broke down. Ah, yes. A little life of an evening can be deadly.
Tonight's Inner Sanctum mystery, The Devil's Workshop, was written by John Robert and stars Mason Adams in the role of Tony with Joan Banks as Tina.
Tonight's story was specially devised to get you used to the coming winter chill. Just try to shrug it off, I dare you. Our hero is Tony Murillo, creator of The Devil's Workshop. A talented young man with a genius for evil.
The Devil's Workshop. I created it and I live in it. Living with me is every murderer who ever amounted to anything. Hatchet men, pathological killers, Bloody Mary, and the devil himself. We live in it, all of us, with one difference only. I'm flesh and blood, and they're wax. My hands made them. It's a good business. I can't keep up with the cash orders pouring in from wax museums all over the world. It's a good business, except that sometimes it gets in the way of your love life a little. Your girl wonders about you sometimes.
Tony, how did you ever fix on such a strange occupation?
Maybe because I'm strange myself. And maybe because my name is Murillo.
Murillo?
See that figure standing alongside the refrigeration room? The chubby little bald fellow with the face of an angel?
Hmm?
He'd shot 9 men before a sheriff's posse got him. He was Cesar Murillo, my old man. Sometimes your girl Tina forgets the blood around her is make-believe and the lunatic faces of homicidal killers are only wax.
Tony!
Did Bloody Mary just swing at you with her axe?
No. No, not Mary. It was the devil. I could swear he moved just now. Tony, look.
What do you want me to see?
The devil grinning and moving his lips. Look, Tony, I'm not crazy.
No, you're not crazy. He's always grinning and moving his lips.
Always?
And moving around the room, always restless. Today he's behind this killer, tomorrow that killer. Or watching Hickman the butcher. And always grinning and moving his lips like he was egging them on.
Tony, do you know what you're saying?
Forget it. Things happen to you in my kind of workshop. You turn in for the night on an iron army cut and the shop comes alive. You're wax and they're flesh and blood, and all of them having a time of it for themselves. With the devil dividing his time the best he can among all of them. You wake up, and there he is behind someone else for the day. Or you wake up, and he's gone. The devil's nowhere in the workshop. As if he just upped and went on the town. Tina!
Yes, Tony?
What are you trying to pull?
Paul, I don't understand.
The devil, he's nowhere in the workshop.
Tony, what are you saying?
But you were here during the night and carried him off. Nobody else could have gotten in.
Why should I steal your devil?
I reported it to the police as a theft. To a Sergeant Tracy.
Somebody stole your devil, you say?
A wax devil.
Is there another kind? You were asleep when the door was locked?
Yes.
Any windows to the loft?
2 leading to a fire escape, but they were bolted from the inside.
Well, if the door and windows were locked, how do you figure the robbery was worked?
I don't know.
Could he have walked out? The devil, I mean.
I don't know. I returned to the workshop by way of the docks. Just a door or 2 from the workshop, a man stopped me. A man in black. Black as if he was wearing the night around him. He wore a hood. Just his eyes showed like small batteries of light.
Make an outcry and I'll kill you.
You're going to rob me?
No. Commission you.
Commission me?
You Tony Murillo?
Yes.
Where's your workshop?
2 doors down.
I came to you because of your genius with your hands.
You want a figure?
No. Just a face. A face for me. You see, I have no face. I mean, no adequate one.
In the workshop, the eyes gleaming from holes in a hood turned on me.
Sit down while I unmask.
Sit down?
It may be a shock. I'm not pretty.
Every day I see things you're not pretty to see.
Very well, then. Look.
Where's your face?
All that there is, you see.
You're just a skull, like death.
I can breathe.
But through holes.
I can eat and talk.
But your mouth is just a slit, no lips, and no flesh, like your face was eaten away.
It was eaten away.
It was how?
You really want to know?
I can stand it.
It was a bandit somewhere in desert country. The bandit had a sense of the grotesque. He didn't like my face, he said.
You want a face for me?
Yes.
But a wax face, what good would
You're not. You're only to comply, not to judge. You will rebuild my face. You will model a nose, lips, and a chin.
But out of wax, it's crazy. Better a surgeon. Surgery's done miracles.
I want a wax face. Tempered as firmly and durably as those dummies. But handsomer. I want to be handsome. In fact, as handsome as you.
As me?
Yes. Make my face in your likeness. Well, why do you keep staring?
You could be the wax devil.
You have a lively imagination.
Have I?
And a perverse habit of staring. Now what's running through your imagination?
What I just said. You could be the wax devil.
I could be wax.
The wax devil disappeared this morning.
All right, touch me and satisfy yourself. And let's get this over with so you can work on my face. Feel my hand.
It's flesh.
And blood, too, believe me. Or would you prefer experimenting with a pin?
No.
You still think I'm your missing devil?
You couldn't be. But I got to work. I posed myself in the wall mirror and rebuilt his face in wax. A fine, straight nose and a strong chin like mine. I mixed colors into the wax to get a reddish glow to the cheeks. I made the face durable as much as my skill could. And when it was modeled into the warm mass, I kept him in the refrigerator room as long as I dared. You now have a face.
Let me see it. Where's your mirror?
Over there.
Ah. A good job, Tony. I can breathe. And I can talk. You planned your work intelligently. Look at me. I could be you in wax.
Yes, you could be me.
How long can the face last?
Indefinitely, if you keep the cold temperatures.
Then I'll live here with you.
Live here?
I must. Where better than here? I'll have your hands at my disposal. And your refrigerator room.
Besides, I want to show my gratitude by rewarding you.
Rewarding me? How?
By making you rich. Enormously rich. Money, jewels, treasures.
Where's all that coming from?
From everywhere in the world. From banks and from merchants and from misers. I forgot to tell you, not only do I not have an actual face, I haven't a conscience either.
He was going to steal for me, he said. But he began by stealing from me. Tina. I'd had a date with her, but she hadn't shown up. I'd waited half the night, but she never came. The next day, when she dropped into the workshop, I lammed into her. What changed your mind?
Changed my mind?
We had a date last night. I waited for you. You didn't show up.
I didn't show... Tony, you're insane. We kept our date.
We what?
We kept our date. And we had fun. For the first time in weeks, we had fun. I even fell in love with you. All over again.
What did we do?
You don't remember? Tony, what's the matter with you?
Never mind. What did we do?
Well, there was an open-air movie and a drive into the country. We sang and joked and parked in Lover's Lane. Tony, what is it? What's come over you?
You were out last night, all right, Tina. But not with me. You were out joyriding with the devil. After that first date, the devil and Tina kept palling together night after night. Dates every night. And Tina smiling like she just discovered herself, like she was having the time of her life. Even when Tina found out he was a ringer for me, she preferred him. I couldn't talk her out of it. I couldn't beat her out of it.
Tony!
I'll knock some sense into you about to kill you. Quit dating that freak.
You've no right to order me.
He's a devil.
Only in your crazy head. He's warm and real and even tender.
His face is $1 worth of wax. Light a match to it, it'll melt away.
He told me how that happened. The terrible way he was mutilated. I cried, Tony. I wasn't repelled. I just cried for him.
You went for a gag. He invented that horror story about his face.
And if he did invent it?
He did invent it. It doesn't make any difference to you.
Nothing makes any difference to me.
Not even if he's the devil.
Not even then. All these days you've been telling me he's the devil. A thing with a false face and no conscience. And while you've been telling me all that, do you know what I keep thinking, Tony? What I keep whispering to myself?
What do you keep thinking?
How exciting. How exciting to be in league and in love with the devil. Are you surprised, Tony?
I watched her laugh as if she was having a fit. And moving away from me, deeper into the workshop, losing herself in a crowd of wax figures, hatchetmen, and crazy killers. I followed her with my eyes as far as I could. And suddenly, I saw her as someone else. She wasn't Tina any longer, but Mary. Bloody Mary. Tina! Tina, come back! Tina, don't go! She was down the stairs, gone, running from me. I went back into the workshop. I had to get hold of myself. I was seeing things.
You seem a little unsettled, Tony.
You?
Yes, me. You handled Tina very clumsily.
What were you spying?
I couldn't help overhearing you. I was there in your refrigerator room.
You've got Tina in a crazy spell.
She adores me, and quite naturally.
What do you mean, quite naturally?
It's not just the tortured resemblance you and I now bear to each other that draws Tina to me. It's far more than that. I'm more her kind.
I don't understand you.
She told you she found me exciting. Couldn't you guess why?
It was just talk to drive me crazy. To get even for the pushing around I give her.
No, it was more than that. You see, you and I are superficially the same, and quite matched mentally. Neither of us can lay too much claim to sanity. But you have one attribute that I don't possess. And it's the lack of that attribute in me that attracts Tina.
What haven't you got that attracts Tina?
A conscience. You think I'm joking?
I don't think you know Tina.
On the contrary, you don't know her. You see her as simple and lovely and good. In fact, you want her like that. Consequently, you repress her, where I free her.
Now I know you're the devil, scheming to remake Tina in your image.
Am I? Did you see her before? Did you see the curious transfiguration she underwent? When she dared free herself and laugh? Really laugh?
Yes. She seemed to change right under my eyes.
She seemed to change into what?
An older face, wild and crazy and gloating. Like Bloody Mary waving her axe. Bloody Mary back there with the wax figures. Like Bloody Mary. That night I crept along after them, the devil and Tina, as an observer, along the harbor front where ghosts of ships float into blackness, to a small park in the fancy East End, where tired men sit on benches and dream into the river. I watched them work as a team, Tina and the devil, smoothly, every move coordinated as if they were both powered by one instinct. The sitter got up to go, and then he screamed suddenly and struggled. But the devil had his arms in a vice as Tina swung the axe. I'd been wrong about Tina. The devil was right. Her face looking down on a victim was the face of a maddened killer. The face of Bloody Mary. The devil had promised to reward me by making me rich. He hadn't forgotten.
For you, Tony. A small down payment on my gratitude for this face. A man's wedding band. It's not much, but the wretch had little worth stealing. Only a watch, a few paltry dollars, and this ring. The money goes to Tina. I will keep the watch.
I don't want the ring.
But you must take it. It brings the three of us closer and ensures two of us against notions you may entertain about the police. It also suggests another way that you will eventually become a problem to me.
How will I become a problem?
You took the wedding band reluctantly just now, but soon you'll become bolder, greedier. Soon you'll want more. Soon you'll demand Tina, too. You'll try to recapture her from me.
I want no part of Tina.
I do. Tina.
Yes?
I never want to lose you to Tony.
I don't think you ever will.
Will you marry me then right away?
Tina, no. Whatever you've done, but not that. You can't marry the devil.
But I can, Tony, I can. And I will.
Tina did. And I watched.
And do you, Tina, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?
I do.
Please place the ring on her finger.
Ring? I forgot about the ring. Tony.
Yes?
The wedding band you acquired earlier. May I borrow it for the bride?
Yes. I have it here in my pocket.
It was a beautiful ceremony. You don't think so, Tony?
It was a nightmare.
You're bad company for honeymooners. Drop us in the nearest motor court and then be on your way.
Be on my way?
Yes. We'll manage without you. Nicely.
I dropped them at a motor court. But I didn't go on my way much. I pulled the car to a side, shut the lights, and I tried to think. I tried to corner my brain and force one idea through it. One idea. The devil could have Tina, but he couldn't wear my face. I thought about that, and the idea grew. His power over me was my face. I was mixed up about everything, crazy as all get out, but this one idea was the clearest thing I understood. The devil couldn't wear my face any longer. Not if I wanted to hold on to the only thing I had, a conscience. I crept into their cabin very noiselessly. Tina had dropped off in a chair. He was on a bed, breathing heavily. I lit a torch I'd made of paper and twigs. With my knee in the pit of his stomach and one hand like a steel vice on his throat, I held the blazing torch to his face. He awakened but lay helpless, making whimpering sounds. I watched first his chin melt and then his cheeks, and then little hot rivers of wax run down him and on me. Tina!
Tony! Stop!
Look, Tina, look behind his face.
Stop.
Look at your bridegroom
Stop
now.
it.
Let go of me.
You'll burn too. You'll burn too, Tony.
Tina, fire! Tina, let go. Ready when we burn to a crisp. I escaped. I rolled in the dirt outside to stop the flames on my clothes. Tina didn't escape. When she saw the flames were too much, that it was too late to save him, she flung herself across him on his funeral pyre. The last thing in my ears as the cabin began to fall was her scream. I'm back in the devil's workshop now, winding everything up, making plans to junk everything here for keeps. Sergeant Tracy is here with me, trying to make sense out of what he checked of my story.
I had a whole group of specialists go through the rubble of that cabin that burned to the ground.
I started the fire. I destroyed his face and Tina Ford with me.
No, you told us that already. There weren't two corpses in the rubble, Tony. Just a lot of wax. Wax over everything.
The devil?
Was undoubtedly that wax figure you reported missing.
But Tina...
We're checking over your workshop just now. I'll find another figure in your inventory missing.
Another figure?
Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary is missing.
See for yourself. I didn't know exactly what you did the other night in acting out your hallucination, but there's no doubt in my mind that the two people who were burned in that fire was a wax devil and a Bloody Mary. A man was axed to death and robbed in the park on the East End, you said. That murder never took place, Tony.
I'm as crazy as that?
Well, let's just say you took that weird business you're in a little seriously. Now, that just about explains everything, more or less. Or does it?
Or does it?
There's one big question mark we're trying to slough off at the department, because if we don't, we'll all start looking under our beds nights.
One big question, Sergeant.
We went through the rubble of that cabin with a fine comb. All we found, as I said, was wax and this.
This?
A wedding band. A man's wedding band.
I hear there's a sign outside a certain workshop that reads, "For sale, owner gone off permanently." You can buy in cheap, anybody. A small down payment, a wax dollar, say, with your mind as security for the balance of your sanity. So the blazing lovers' triangle finally boiled down to just Tony. Imagine all that wax and no candle wick. As a close friend of mine remarked to his keeper, make a rental service out of your face and you're liable to get it in the neck.
Sanctum was heard in the United States over CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System, and has been rebroadcast for servicemen and women overseas. This is the United States Armed Forces Radio Service, the voice of information and education.
Although every word of this story is as true as despair, I do not expect people to believe it. Nowadays, a rational explanation is required before belief is possible. Let me at once then offer the rational explanation. It is held that Harry and Laura Innes were under a delusion on that 31st of October, and that this supposition places the whole matter on a satisfactory and believable basis. But there were 3 who took part in the events of the 31st. The other man still lives, and can speak to the truth of the least credible part of Harry's story. October the 31st. It began like any other last day of the month, and progressed into terror as it moved beyond midnight.
I never in my life knew what it was like to have enough money to satisfy the most ordinary needs. I used to paint in those days, and Laura used to write, and we felt sure we could keep the pot at least simmering. Living in town was out of the question, so we went to look for a cottage in the country. We wanted something that was both sanitary and picturesque. So rarely do these 2 qualities meet in one cottage that for a long time our search was fruitless. We were lucky in the end, though. 2 days before our honeymoon started, we discovered the ideal thing on the outskirts of the village of Brenzett, near the marshes. We got a tall, old village woman called Mrs. Dorman to do for us, and as the cottage slowly became habitable, we began to devote more of our time to earning a living. Laura began to sell her stories, and I really felt the atmosphere was helping my painting. We had 3 months of married happiness. One October evening, I'd been down to smoke a pipe with the village doctor. Laura had stayed at home to finish a comic sketch for a woman's magazine. I'd left her laughing over her own jokes. I came back to find her crying on the window seat in the light of the dying day. Laura, what's the matter? Darling, what is it? Oh, please, darling.
It's Mrs. Dorman.
What? What's she done?
She says she's got to go before the end of the month. She says her niece is ill. She's gone down to see her now, but I don't believe that's the reason. Her niece is always ill. I think someone's been saying something against us. She was acting so queerly.
Oh, come on, darling. Never mind. It's all right. Don't cry.
Don't you see? It's serious. We'll have to work all day. We'll only be able to rest while we're waiting for the kettle to boil. We won't have time to earn any money.
Listen. There'll be plenty of time, even if we do have to... Laura, listen to me. I'll speak to Mrs. Dorman when she comes back and see if I can't make her change her mind. She probably wants more money or something. It'll be all right, you see. Oh, come on, love. It's a beautiful evening, not dark yet. Let's take a walk up to the church, Come on, darling, fetch your coat.
I don't need a coat. It's not cold out. Harry, I will learn to cook soon. But...
Oh, don't worry. We walked under the yew trees up to the little old church. The path was called the Beer Walk, because years before it had been the way by which the corpses had been carried to burial. I didn't tell Laura this, though. She was impressionable. The church was Norman and was only used on Sundays. On either side of the altar lay a grey marble figure of a knight in full plate armour, lying upon a low slab, with hands held up in everlasting prayer. Their names were lost, but the villagers said they'd been murderers, marauders by land and sea. They'd been guilty of deeds so foul that the house they had lived in, the big house, by the way, that had stood on the site of our cottage, had been stricken by lightning and the vengeance of heaven. I didn't tell Laura this either. She wasn't so engrossed in folklore as I was. We walked to the chancel, looked for a while at the sleeping warriors, and then slowly made our way home. Mrs. Dorman had come back from the village, and so as soon as Laura had gone to our bedroom, I went into the kitchen to square things up with our servant. Well, can't you stay for another month?
No, sir. I'm bound to go by Thursday.
Yeah, but it's Monday today. I mean, I think you might have let us know before. There's no time now to get anybody else. My wife's not up to too much heavy work. Can't you stay till next week?
I might be able to come back next week.
Good, but why do you have to go this week? Come on, out with it.
It's cold, sir. They say, sir, that this was a big house in Catholic times, and there was many deeds done here.
Well, tell me about it, Mrs. Dorman. Well, you needn't mind about telling me. I won't make fun or anything. Would you like to sit down?
No, sir, thank you.
Well?
Well, sir, you may have seen in the church, beside the altar, 2 shapes.
The knights in armour. Effigies.
I mean them 2 bodies, drawed out, man-size in marble.
Man-size in marble. I thought then that her description was 1,000 times more graphic than mine.
They do say, as on All Saints' Eve, them 2 bodies sit up on their slabs and gets off them, and then walks down the aisle in their marble. And as the church clock strikes 11, they walks out of the church door and over the graves and along the bier walk. And if it's a wet night, there's the marks of their feet in the morning.
And where do they go?
They come back here to their home, sir. And if anyone meets them...
Well, what then?
I'm sorry, I've got to go, sir. But my niece, she's sick. I've got to go.
It's all right, Mrs. Dorman. If you promise to come back afterwards again, we don't want to lose you. What... the knights, the legend, after they've arrived here, what are they supposed to do then? I mean...
Whatever you do, sir, lock the door early on All Saints' Eve. And make the cross sign over the doorstep and on the windows.
But has anyone ever seen these things?
That's not for me to say. I know what I know, sir.
Well, who was here last year at the cottage?
No one, sir. The lady has owned the house, only stayed here in summer, and she always went to London a full month afore the night. All Saints. I'm sorry to inconvenience you and your lady, but my niece is ill and I must go on Thursday.
I didn't tell Laura of the shapes that walked in their marble, partly because a legend concerning our house might trouble her, and partly, I think, from some more occult reason. I soon forgot about it myself, anyway. I was painting a portrait of Laura against the lattice window, and I couldn't think of much else.
There. Steak, potatoes. Oh, tell me I'm learning fast. Say it's as good as Mrs. Dorman, even if it isn't.
It looks beautiful.
Oh, the painting's coming along marvelously, darling.
Hmm?
There's only one thing.
Hmm? Oh, this is better than Mrs. Dorman. What's that?
I don't believe you. Harry, it's a lovely painting, but you've made me really beautiful.
Well, you are beautiful.
I love you.
Well, if you love me, get your elbow out of my dinner. Thursday passed off pretty well. Actually, the steak was like boots, and the potatoes were hardly cooked at all. But I loved her. I loved my darling. Friday came, and it's about what happened that Friday that I'm telling you now. I'll tell my story of it as quickly as I can. Everything that happened that day is burnt into my brain. I shall not forget anything, not leave anything out. You look sad, my darling.
Yes, I think I am. Or uneasy. I don't think I'm very well. It's not cold, is it?
What's the matter? No, not cold.
I've shivered lots of times this morning. Do you ever have presentiments of evil?
No. I shouldn't believe in them if I had.
I do. The night my father died, I knew it. He was right away in the north of Scotland. But I knew. Harry! We haven't played the gramophone since we've been here. Oh, let's play it now. What shall we have?
She sorted through our record collection, and she looked like a small child. I loved her then, that morning, more dearly than I've ever loved anyone in the whole of my life. It was the happiest time I've ever known, or hoped to know. The birds sang in the garden of our own home. The autumn was proving to be a mild one, and my Laura seemed gayer than ever she had been, despite her admittance to me that she thought she was not well. The music was beautiful. Laura was chatting away, and as I looked out through the windows at the mass of autumn colouring, the deep scarlet clouds slowly paled into leaden grey against a pale green sky. It was Friday, and Mrs. Dorman had gone off to look after a niece she swore was sick the day before, Thursday. I listened to the music and watched the graceful curve of my Laura's cheek. And it saddens me now, in retrospect, to remember that that day was the last time our now dusty gramophone records ever saw the light of day.
There must be millions of them in those marshes. The frogs. Harry, shall we get a little dog?
If you like.
Maybe not such a little one, either. Let's have a Great Dane.
Great Dane?
Yes, so that everyone will be frightened and keep away.
Well, who do you want to keep away, for pity's sake?
People who shouldn't be here. Oh, I don't know. Burglars and things.
Well, I think any self-respecting burglar looking around this place would go away in disgust. Well, we might have something worth stealing one day, but not at the moment, my lovely. Anyway, Great Danes are awful cowards.
Oh, they're not. They're huge.
Sure they are. All feet and great lolloping head. All bluff, though. Pekingese would be more likely to create a din and scare away unwanted visitors.
Anyway, shall we get a dog? Not a Dane, then. A little mongrel or something. With one eye black and one eye brown. Call it Wag or Patch.
A dog called Wag or Patch shall be delivered here by the end of the week.
Oh,
I promise.
Wonderful. I'd love a canary, too.
Oh, then a canary you'll have, my darling. I'll give you anything in the world within my power. You know that.
I used to have a tortoise when I was a girl.
Hmm? Are you trying to turn the place into a zoo? Oh, is my pipe bothering you?
No, of course not. What's the time?
10:30. All the same, I think I'll take the last of it outside for a bit.
Last of what?
My pipe. Brutal to sit in here, filling the place with strong Cavendish.
Oh, I don't mind. I'll come with you.
No, sweetheart, not tonight. You're much too tired. Shan't be long. You were shivering this morning.
I'm all right now, honestly.
Get to bed. I'll have an invalid to nurse tomorrow, as well as the boots to clean.
Kiss me, then.
Come on, pussy. You're tired. Housework's been too much for you.
Harry. Oh, Harry.
Oh, Laura, my sweet love. I'll not be long out there. Just...
Taste of strong Cavendish. Oh, I'm a bit tired.
Yes, I know.
We've been very happy today, haven't we, darling? Don't stay out too long.
I won't. What a night it was. The jagged masses of heavy dark cloud were rolling at intervals from horizon to horizon, and thin white wreaths covered the stars. Through all the rush of the cloud river, the moon swam, breasting the waves and disappearing again in darkness. I could see the church tower standing out black and grey against the sky. 11 o'clock already. My pipe was out. I looked in at the bedroom window and saw Laura half lying on her chair in front of her dressing table. My heart went out to her. I decided to take a walk up to the church. So, with a last look at my dearest wife, I left our cottage and began my walk. There must be a God, I thought to myself, and a God who was good. How otherwise could anything as sweet as Laura ever have been imagined? When I reached the church, I noticed the door was open. I blamed myself for leaving it unlatched the other night. We were the only people who ever cared to come to the church, except on Sundays. I went inside. It seems strange, perhaps, that I should have gone halfway up the aisle before I remembered, with a sudden chill, followed by as sudden a rush of self-contempt, that this was the very day and hour when, according to tradition, the shapes drawed out man-size in marble began to walk. Having remembered the legend, I decided to go and have a look at the marble knights. I thought how pleasant it would be to tell Mrs. Dorman how ridiculous her fancies were, and how peacefully the marble figures slept on through the ghastly hour. With my hands in my pockets, I passed up the aisle. In the grey, dim light, the eastern end of the church looked larger than usual, and the arches above the two tombs looked larger too. And then the moon came out and showed me the reason. I stopped short, and my heart gave a leap that nearly choked me. The bodies were gone. marble slabs lay wide and bare in the moonlight that slanted through the east window. Was I mad? I passed my hand over the smooth slabs. Some joke. The figures were gone, and I was alone in the church. Or was I? And then a horror seized me, a horror indefinable and indescribable, an overwhelming certainty of supreme and accomplished calamity. Laura! 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 Hold it. Get out of my way! Hey, what are you... Hurry! Let go! Let go! The marble figures have gone from the church. They've gone.
Oh, I'll have to give you a draft tomorrow, I see. You've been listening to old wives' tales.
I've seen the bare slabs, man. Let go!
Now, hurry, man. Listen to me, will you? Now, listen.
You gave me a scare, Doctor.
I'm going to old Palmer's place. His daughter's sick. I'll go by way of the church. Show me the bare slabs.
Well, you go if you like. I'm going home to my wife. Look, will you let go my arm?
Oh, rubbish, man. Do you think I'll permit that? I hate to go saying all your life that you've seen marble endowed with vitality, and me to go all me life saying you're a coward? No, sir, you shan't do it. Now, come on. Come on now. I'll prove to you were dreaming.
We went back to that terrible church and walked up the aisle. Walked to the marble slabs. The doctor produced matches. I admit I closed my eyes. I knew the figures would not be there.
Here they are. You see, right enough. You've been dreaming or drinking. Asking your pardon for the imputation, eh?
I opened my eyes and looked, and by the dying matchlight I saw the two shapes in marble, hands in prayer.
Blast! I burnt my fingers. Oh, blasphemy in a church. Still, it wasn't meant. So, satisfied, Harry?
Oh, it must have been some trick of the light or something. Do you know, I was quite convinced they were gone.
Oh, I'm aware of that. You'll have to be careful of that brain of yours, my friend. Now, I'm warning you.
Huh?
Hello? Oh, something has been afoot here. His hand is broken.
What?
Well, you might have and see it's broken. Or maybe somebody tried to remove them.
They were both all right last time Laura and I came here.
Well, someone might have tried to prise them up.
That wouldn't account for my impression.
Well, too much painting and tobacco, and maybe indulgence in some of the hard stuff too, perhaps.
Never. Oh, look, come on, man. My wife will be getting anxious. Oh, you come in and have a drop of whiskey with me and drink Confusion to Ghosts and better sense to me, won't you?
I ought to go to Palmer's, but... well, it's late. I'll leave it till tomorrow. She's not all that sick.
Oh, let's go back then.
Aye. You're getting along fine in the cottages then, Harry.
Oh, we're making do. Had a bit of a servant problem.
Who doesn't have servant troubles? You're not alone there, Harry. Ever since the day I came to the place, servants have driven me mad.
We walked to our cottage. We saw, as we walked up the path, the bright light streaming out of the front door. Presently I noticed the parlour door was open too. Had she gone out, I wondered? We passed into the parlour. It was all ablaze with candles. Her chair was empty, and her handkerchief and book lay on the floor. I turned to the window, and there, in the recess of the window, I saw her. Laura!
Good grief, man.
Laura, my baby, Laura. It's all right, my darling. I'm here.
There, out of the way.
Laura, it's all right, pussy. Please, baby, I'm here. Oh, forgive me. She fell into my arms in a heap. I kissed her and held her, but I think I knew all the time that she was dead.
Please, what happened?
Her hands were tightly clenched.
I'm sorry.
In one of them, she held something fast. When I was quite sure that she was dead and that nothing mattered at all anymore, I let the doctor open her hand to see what it was she held. It was a grey marble finger.
Beyond Midnight is presented every Friday night at 9:30 by Biotex, the new soak and pre-wash powder. The program is adapted for broadcasting and produced by Michael McCabe.